I kept quiet for too long, but the events leading up to my brother Brian's wedding next weekend still haunt me. At 42, I found myself facing a deeply unsettling and utterly unwelcome request to host part of his fiancée Diane's family. Diane, 39, and Brian, 38, have shared nearly 5 years, though shared feels like a generous term for what I've truly witnessed. My brother Brian is not the sharpest tool, and his profound naivety borders on alarming. He has, with astonishing regularity, fallen victim to Diane's endless stream of lies. Her fake persona and manipulative behavior are painfully obvious to any truly observant soul, yet Brian remains utterly blind. For years, she has spun an insidious, intricate web of deceit around him. Consider one egregious example of her audacity. Diane brazenly claimed, early in their relationship, that she couldn't get pregnant. She even asserted her uterus had been removed, a sheer medical impossibility, given her consistent, normal menstrual cycles. This fabrication was truly astounding, a bold-faced, manipulative psycho's lie. Yet, by some miracle, they now have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Diane then concocted the tale that these were ectopic tube pregnancies. My brother, Brian, seems entirely incapable of even consulting Google or applying the most basic, rudimentary logic. His maddening inability to see through these transparent falsehoods is beyond frustrating. It's infuriating. The very thought of welcoming her deceitful kin into my home, knowing the depth of her manipulative nature, filled me with dread. I knew then, with grim certainty, that I couldn't simply stand by and enable this charade any longer. The time for my stand had finally come. The story of my brother and Diane still sends a shiver down my spine. I've kept silent too long. Countless family and friends warned him an ectopic pregnancy birth was simply impossible. Yet, he never truly listened. His demanding work schedule always kept him from a crucial OB appointment, and even if he had made it, I doubt he would have asked the critical questions. In the end, he simply declared his love for her, dismissing our desperate concerns with a casual, "It doesn't matter." What could we do? We had to force a smile. "Okay, fine," we conceded. "We'll strive to be happy for you and our new nephews." Beneath that forced facade, deep resentment festered. Needless to say, I and much of our family absolutely despise Diane. She is a master manipulator, a user of the highest order, callously discarding people like used tissues once their utility has vanished. I've watched, with growing horror, as she systematically twisted my parents, my brother, my sister, and even her own friends and family around her little finger. Every single encounter with her at family holiday events, weddings, or solemn funerals has been utterly repellent, leaving a foul taste in my mouth. Just pure disgust. Now, after 6 months of meticulous planning, they are finally getting married next weekend. She, a huge Halloween fanatic, insisted on avoiding the actual holiday for their anniversary. It won't be a grand affair, just about 50 guests, mostly our reluctant family, mingled with a few of hers. This impending union feels less like a joyful celebration and more like a heavy burden. I may forgive my brother, but I will never, ever forget her insidious nature. The drama, I fear, is only just beginning. I often wonder at the audacity of some people, but even I was taken aback by Diane's request. For months, I knew her brother's family. His wife and their 4 young children faced financial struggles, making a hotel for the upcoming wedding impossible. Yet, it was only last night she casually asked if they could all stay with us, citing my biggest house as the sole reason. This wasn't just inconvenient. It felt like a deliberate disregard for my family's peace. A stressful, utterly undesirable prospect. My home, despite its size, is nearly a 3-hour drive from the wedding venue and the hub of all pre-celebration activities. The final dress fittings, rehearsal dinner, the bachelor and bachelorette parties. This distance alone would mean endless hours of commuting for them, a constant back and forth for events my family and I aren't even attending. My children, my +1, and I are only invited to the main wedding and reception. Carpooling for their other commitments? Entirely out of the question, but the layers of impracticality didn't end there. The wedding and reception strictly prohibit guests under 13. Their 4 little ones, ages 1, 4, 5, and 9, are far below that limit. So who would watch them? Where would these young children stay during the festivities, assuming all adults, including my own teens, would be celebrating their uncle's marriage? My kids are attending to support my brother and reunite with our other family. Expecting me to house a family of 6, provide childcare for 4 uninvited children, all while being 3 hours away, was beyond audacious. An imposition I simply couldn't accept, a burden I refused to bear. My internal struggle continued to smolder like dying embers. The idea that I, or any of my children, my eldest at 17, the next 16, and the youngest 15, would willingly surrender our private spaces was simply unthinkable. My refusal was absolute, a firm no echoing in my mind. Beyond the matter of personal space, there was the unsettling reality of their identity. I barely knew these individuals, having crossed paths with them only once, a fleeting introduction. Strangers, truly. And if they mirrored their sister, a woman whose presence I actively avoided, then my reluctance deepened profoundly. The very thought of housing strangers, entrusting them with my children's safety within my own sanctuary, was intolerable. Absolutely not. Then, a crucial question gnawed at me: why couldn't they stay with Diane's parents? Their home boasted 3 bedrooms, and they lived alone, ample space for their son and grandchildren. But here was the unsettling truth. A chasm existed between Diane's husband and his father. And considering her father was the only truly decent person I'd ever encountered in her entire family, this fractured relationship presented a glaring red flag. I voiced my profound discomfort, my unease palpable to both Diane and my brother. Yet the pressure only mounted. Their plea, "Please, it's family," grated on my very soul, a desperate, hollow refrain. My boyfriend, yes, it still feels a little odd to call him that at my age, sensing my escalating distress, offered to stay with us all weekend. He promised his unwavering support if I felt uneasy being alone with them, and vowed to help, knowing I would be expected to properly host, meaning constant cooking for everyone, a burden I dreaded. The initial arrangements, while offering some relief from my inherent discomfort, did little to quell a deeper, gnawing distrust. My paramount concern remained the safety and supervision of their children. Their casual, dismissive reply, "We're still figuring that out," sent a chill down my spine. It was a stark warning, and my resolve solidified into an unwavering refusal. Visions flashed before me. A 9-year-old, barely more than a child herself, burdened with the immense responsibility of 3 vulnerable little ones, ages 1, 4, and 5, all within the walls of my own home. My own family remains torn, split 50-50 on whether I'm being an unforgivable villain. Diane's relatives, apart from her parents, vociferously agree, branding me an insensitive monster. They scoff, claiming it's just one weekend, conveniently forgetting my consistent role as host for every major holiday and celebration. They accuse me of snobbery, of being utterly out of touch, incapable of appreciating their financial plight. The hypocrisy infuriates me. Barely a decade ago, I navigated those very same precarious financial waters, struggling just as they do now. My stance isn't about their lack of Bezos money. It's about fundamental principles. They are strangers to me, and I refuse to have someone in my sanctuary pressured into babysitting, forced to miss the entire ceremony, or, worse, trapped babysitting all weekend while their parents indulge in unrestrained revelry. This boundary is sacred and non-negotiable, the undeniable fact that deep-seated family tension existed between them and their parents gnawed at my conscience, creating immense anxiety about what I could genuinely expect from these potential guests. Was I, in my apprehension, truly being an utterly unreasonable person for my reservations? Then, the inevitable drama unfolded. The barrage of calls and texts from Diane and my brother became relentless, a digital siege I painstakingly chose to ignore until just about an hour ago. When I finally answered, my voice was deliberately calm as I simply asked, "What's up?" The panic in her tone was palpable as she immediately launched into a tirade, accusing me of heartless cruelty, claiming she had so much else weighing on her fragile shoulders. A silent scream clawed at my throat. Lady, my life is a relentless treadmill. I work full-time, travel extensively for my demanding job, juggle 2 high school football players and 2 more with part-time jobs, all while navigating the demanding, solitary path of a single mother. Free time, for me, is an elusive myth, an impossible, distant luxury. She then confessed, utterly convinced I'd help, a thinly veiled request to babysit the very family no one else would dare touch. She had already guaranteed them sanctuary, of all places, in my humble pool house. Let me be unequivocally clear. This so-called pool house is little more than a glorified, inadequate shed, with a small bathroom, a modest, cramped living area, and a tiny kitchenette. Its dimensions are barely those of a PRI still can't believe the sheer nerve. My primary bedroom, though perfectly comfortable, isn't some vast estate, certainly not big enough for 6 extra people. The situation quickly escalated when Diane approached me with her truly outrageous request. My patience wore painfully thin. I firmly stated it wasn't my problem or responsibility. She truly should have consulted me sooner. My children were already a consideration, and I deliberately booked the XYZ hotel. My intent was clear: to enjoy the wedding without the burden of driving home, a drink in hand, carefree. A barrage of questions erupted from me. How did she envision transporting them? Was a rental car part of her scheme? Who would babysit? And why couldn't her own parents handle the children if her brother was truly the problem? His financial situation seemed secondary to such a monumental oversight. This was, unequivocally, a masterclass in poor planning, I declared, each word sharp, cutting like a blade. She claimed the burden had been thrust upon her, leaving her trapped. I countered, asking if I was truly her chosen receptacle for this unwanted problem. We weren't close, Diane, I reminded her. My voice was firm, resolute. Stop asking, I insisted. My answer is final: I will not do this for you. Sorry, not sorry, I concluded, the words leaving no room for argument. The consequence was swift and harsh: we were uninvited from the wedding. My brother, thankfully, won't stand for such blatant disrespect, but the audacity of the situation left a bitter taste in my mouth. If this truly comes to pass, then the chasm between us will only deepen, a permanent rift born of her shocking entitlement. I may forgive, but I will never forget. I kept quiet for too long, but this decision still reverberates through my life. I was faced with an overwhelming request to host a large group of relatives, some nearly strangers, and their children. My gut screamed no, and I knew I had to listen. My home, my sanctuary, was on the line. The thought of opening my doors brought a wave of anxiety. What if the children, unsupervised, stole my cherished jewelry? The adults, too, presented a risk rummaging through my private papers, perhaps even attempting identity theft. The best scenario, I imagined, was them devouring all my food, drinking every drop of alcohol, and leaving behind an unholy mess for me to clean. This wasn't hospitality, it was exploitation. They pleaded financial hardship, yet they expected me to accommodate an entire pack of people, covering their expenses and possibly lending my car. Why weren't Diane's grandkids with her asterisk parents if the problem truly stemmed from her son? The whole situation reeked of something fishy. These were virtual strangers whose own family seemed unwilling to host them. Why should I shoulder that immense burden? I found my resolve. My answer was firm: no, they don't get to come, and frankly, good riddance. I am absolutely not the asshole here, despite any family grumblings. My home is mine. Those who disapprove of my decision are welcome to offer their own houses. I stood my ground, asserting my boundaries, and my peace of mind is my reward. This situation has left me profoundly uneasy, consuming my thoughts. The idea of family staying for the wedding fills me with dread. I've even considered the drastic step of paying for 2 hotel rooms near the venue for them. But a crucial truth stops me. I know, undeniably, this would be twisted. It would paint me as above my family, or worse, establish a dangerous precedent. They'd expect me to continually solve their problems, forever bailing them out. A recent, validating insight underscored the absurdity of the please, it's family, plea. This isn't my asterisk core family demanding this, their manipulation is obvious. I was affirmed for resisting their tactics, yet warned a relentless hounding campaign would surely follow. The counsel was simple. Avoid social media and respond to all guilt trips texts or emails with a firm "not your concern." As foretold, the incessant hounding has begun. It's overwhelming, but I'm proud of my restraint. I haven't snapped, haven't given in to the frustration. Still, a part of me yearns to just book those rooms to end the pressure. Yet, the stark reality persists. That would simply be me, solving their asterisk problem, enabling their irresponsibility. The cycle would continue. This burden is solely theirs. I've even texted my out-of-state brother, seeking his perspective on this exhausting family drama. For too long, I've grappled with a looming family dilemma, one that threatened to unravel our peace. The question of where my brother and his family would stay when they came into town loomed large, despite the obvious option of a hotel already existing there. I found myself in the absurd position of almost begging them to come stay with me, a desperate plea I now believe has averted a potential crisis. My mind raced for alternatives. What about a hotel near the wedding venue? It would surely be far cheaper than forcing them to endure a grueling 3-hour drive, not to mention the added burden of renting a car if they stayed at my secluded property. A modest hotel in town would allow them the freedom to catch rides to events with other local family members, an arrangement that seemed so profoundly simple, yet somehow elusive. A simmering resentment built within me. I couldn't shake my intense curiosity about why their family had blackballed them, nor could I fathom which cosmic power I'd angered to be cast as the chosen one to deal with this drama. It simply wasn't happening. Many voices, including my own, wisely pointed out that even we wouldn't want to undertake a 3-hour journey home after the wedding and reception. Consequently, I swiftly booked rooms for myself and my partner for the wedding night, ensuring our own comfort and peace of mind. As for any unwanted guests attempting to descend upon our home, I took solace in a crucial detail. Our private road is securely gated. My sanctuary would remain just that, guarded and serene. The boundaries were firmly established, I confess. The lingering anxiety surrounding my future sister-in-law's wedding still makes me shiver. Just a week ago, I took a painful stand, telling my soon-to-be SIL I absolutely would not host some of her family for her upcoming nuptials. The internal conflict that decision sparked was immense. Before a new road gate was installed last season, our driveway itself had a gate. We reside in a highly touristy area during summer, which often attracts unwanted attention. My firm plan was to keep a significant distance, ignoring my phone should they dare approach. My heart would truly ache, contemplating turning children away into the cold night. Yet I possessed the grim resolve to do so, if utterly necessary. A pressing concern gnawed at me, prompting thoughts of texting Diane directly. I needed to make it unequivocally clear, if they somehow arrived, they would be completely stuck. Taxis simply don't exist here. Local accommodation consists primarily of expensive airbnbs or small, pricey bed and breakfasts. If they couldn't afford a modest days in near the main venue town, there was zero chance they could manage a stay in our exclusive area. Then, a more strategic plan crystallized. I decided to contact her father directly. I trust implicitly that he, or his wife, possesses the ability to convey the gravity of the situation to them, leaving absolutely no room for misunderstanding. Should they, against all warnings, still appear in our vicinity, my strategy remains unyielding, absolute ignore. No engagement, no acknowledgement, just silence. The saga, alas, continued. Today, October 22, 2025, precisely 1 week later, my SDBSIL called. She extended an invitation for us to attend the wedding once more, despite my earlier, clear boundary. The tension, quite thick, remains entirely unresolved. Indeed, by Saturday, her supposed act of reconciliation was laid bare as a mere performance. Not a single trace of sincerity graced her apology, and there was absolutely no admission of fault, only the flimsy excuse of overreacting in the heat of the moment. I had already consulted my children, gauging their desires and thoughts on the possibility of a reinvitation. Their minds mirrored mine precisely. Absolutely not. We had already solidified alternative plans for our weekend. When I communicated this decision to her, she had the sheer gall to retort, "Oh well, then you guys can babysit, right?" A laugh, sharp and incredulous, burst from me before I delivered a terse, expletive-laden dismissal. She immediately dissolved into tears, lamenting how I'd supposedly never given her a fair chance, accusing me of perpetual unkindness, and professing utter bewilderment regarding any offense she might have caused. A familiar, tiresome refrain. I acknowledged, with an edge that was far from gentle, that I had indeed never afforded her the opportunity to deceive me, for I possess a keen insight that she lacks. More importantly, I have silently observed her masterfully weaving webs of manipulation around almost every member of my family, in one insidious way or another. Now my brother seethes with anger towards her because the arrangements crumbled. We weren't coming, and it was solely her burden to rectify the situation, yet she utterly failed. What truly burns me is my brother's complete silence. He hasn't communicated with me once about this whole incident. How could he not reach out, not even to express a different sentiment or a genuine desire for us to be there? My father, ever the optimist, insists, "Of course he wants you there. He's absolutely furious with Diane." A hollow reassurance, Dad. I remain unconvinced, so for us, that's the end of it. This weekend, we'll immerse ourselves in the electric atmosphere of the Michigan versus Michigan State football game, tailgating with the most passionate fans in the state. Go Blue, hail. Some might judge me, suggesting I'm cold-hearted, that I never truly gave her a chance. They bring up her 5-year-old remark about not believing she could have children, as if that personal detail, truly none of their business, justifies her current actions. They question how she has truly ignited family drama or manipulated anyone. While I maintain my absolute right to dictate who stays in my home, I'm seen as a cold bitch who judged too swiftly. They don't understand. This isn't about her past personal beliefs regarding fertility or some unexpected turn of events. It's about her deliberate actions and neglect now. This woman brought chaos into our lives. Her deceit still haunts me deeply. She ensnared my brother, claiming a cruel twist of fate had rendered her infertile, her uterus supposedly removed. Imagine my shock when she announced a pregnancy. No one without a uterus can conceive. An ectopic pregnancy, a rare, life-threatening fallopian tube event, has no bearing on a woman who claimed to have no womb. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a calculated, cold-hearted lie designed to trap him. Perhaps it wasn't my place to interfere, but her manipulative character was laid bare. I admit, she was never my favorite. I had reservations. Yet I extended grace, tried to see good in her. But the moment that shocking pregnancy news surfaced, my patience shattered. The depths of her deception knew no bounds. Next, she spun a horrifying tale for my parents: stage 3 ovarian cancer. She needed a dedicated caregiver, she claimed, for her insurance to cover treatment. My father, without hesitation, sacrificed his job to become her full-time support. He received no training, no compensation, just empty promises and the burden of her fabricated illness. 3 agonizing months later, the truth, ugly as it was, finally emerged. There was no cancer. Only her selfish desire to avoid loneliness. Her callous deceit left our family reeling, scarred by her cruel games. I've kept quiet for too long, but this story still makes my blood boil. My father took an early retirement, utterly wasted. She routinely exploited my children, promising payment for babysitting, then leaving them unpaid. Twice, my daughter found my nephew starving, neglected, forcing her to order DoorDash. It wasn't the expense, it was the blatant deceit. Why couldn't she admit, "I can't afford to pay you, but could you help?" Her lies were a constant and corrosive force. Then came the ultimate betrayal. She told her boss she missed work because her fiancé was a drug addict, abusive towards the kids, claiming days off to protect them when he was high. An abhorrent fabrication. Her employer called Child Protective Services. The truth was far more disturbing. SHE was the one struggling with a severe drug addiction. After rehab, everyone declared all is well, a casual shrug dismissing years of harm. That glib assessment infuriates me. Her deceit is a deep-seated pattern. If she claims the sky is blue, I'd instinctively check for myself. My brother, tragically, excuses it all as addiction struggles, repeating, "She's sober now and better." But sobriety alone doesn't change who someone truly is. For me, the harsh reality remains. She is a fundamentally flawed, terrible human being. If that makes me cynical, then so be it. Some might label my stance cold-hearted, but after enduring this protracted family drama, I stand unyielding in my resolve. When quiet concerns surfaced regarding potential repercussions, perhaps even a foolish attempt to breach the sanctuary of my home, I felt a profound, quiet reassurance. Our residence is already meticulously protected by a formidable gated drive and an advanced security system. Furthermore, by a remarkable stroke of unexpected luck, our township, continuously burdened by an overwhelming influx of disruptive summer tourists, transformed our entire road into a private, securely gated community just this past spring. I had once seriously contemplated removing our personal gate, thinking it utterly superfluous, but now it genuinely feels like a divine intervention, a profound blessing in disguise, safeguarding us against any ill-conceived designs. My brother's fiancée is, quite frankly, a relentless and exasperating source of irritation. Her so-called apology was a pathetic, half-hearted, clearly insincere attempt, delivered mere days before the wedding, coupled with a last-minute, grudging reinvitation that only highlighted her profound immaturity and a stark lack of genuine remorse. I truly wish my brother immense good luck. He's undeniably going to desperately need it navigating a lifetime tethered to her mercurial disposition. He appears to have completely surrendered his personal agency, simply telling her to fix it while offering no real leadership or supportive guidance. Adding to my dismay, my father's constant, unwavering enabling only fuels this profoundly dysfunctional cycle. It's a prime example of a modern cautionary tale, and I wouldn't be surprised if, in their self-serving entitlement and complete disregard, they eventually attempt to abandon their children at my door, presuming my unwavering assistance. I am fully prepared for their utterly predictable entitlement. This situation demands immense strength. When she tries the "not coming so you're free" line, understand it's a tactic. My advice is clear. Install a doorbell or entrance camera immediately. Should she attempt that particular brand of manipulative nonsense, you must call the police without hesitation. Inform them you are in East Lansing, stressing you never consented to the children being left. Do not back down, go enjoy your game. Let them truly face the dire consequences of her choices. Your peace is worth fighting for.